Now we're moving into a unit on statistics, and the first thing we're going to look at is how to find the equation of a line from a set of points. If you remember, if we had a positive slope, then that meant that my graph of my line is going up from left to right. If I have a negative slope, then that means it's going down from left to right. A scatter plot is the graph of a set of points. Correlation, so new important word, means how the points in the scatter plot are related to each other. And if we look at this scatter plot, do you see how they kind of, in general, go up? All right, they don't fit that line perfectly, but they go up in general. So that looks kind of like our line up at the top that has a positive slope. So we would say it has a positive correlation. This other one, in general, goes down, so we would say it has a negative correlation. And last, this one just doesn't seem to have very much, so we would say it has no correlation. Take a look at the graphs below and see if you can figure out what those are. I think that this first one is no correlation. There's no relationship as I go from left to right on my graph. As opposed to this one, looks really close to a straight line, and it's going down like a negative slope, so we would say negative correlation. This last one, in general, is going up, so we would say it has a positive correlation. Notice on these last graphs, I've been kind of just visually estimating the line that seems to fit the data well. Sometimes there's no single line that passes through all of my data points. I'm not going to do connect the dots or something. Do not connect the dots. So we're trying to find a line that best fits the data. Conveniently, fitting a line to data is called finding the line of best fit. We're really creative. The other term we'll see is linear regression. Okay, so that's what we're going to be learning how to do on the calculator. On the next page, flip it over, we have some points, and I have a list of steps. I want you to star or circle or something, steps 1 and steps 3. You can do step 2, but we really don't need to graph it. What we need to focus on is knowing how to enter a set of data and calculate the line of best fit. You also probably want to highlight, underline, etc. the calculator steps. So we are going to press stat 1, and that gets us to this screen over here where we have our list. And the next couple steps tell you how to clear the list, and that is a really important thing because probably on the EOC or any time in a math class you're going to be entering multiple sets of data. So you need to make sure you're pressing clear and not delete. Once we have everything listed in our table, like right here, we're going to go and press stat. I'm down at step 3. Stat calc 4. Stat calc 4. Okay, and that's going to give me the screen I have on the right over here. It says LinReg. It's short for linear regression. And notice the equation is kind of similar to y equals mx plus b, but I have an a. To fill in the blanks at the bottom that say about the equation, the linear regression equation, it would be y. Oh no, it's not going to show up. There we go. Y equals, and then I just write down my number. So instead of writing A, I write down 0.755, but I'm going to round that to 0.78 x plus, it tells me my equation for B is negative, oh, I could have done a minus. It's okay, you can have plus and negative. Minus 0.78 0.18. Okay, and that's my equation of my line. Now, unlike when we were writing equations before, notice my coefficients are decimals and they're kind of ugly, so we're just going to abbreviate those. The last thing that we need to talk about doing is how to find the correlation coefficient. Now, usually, after you've done this first step, you will see the correlation coefficient on the screen. Let me go back. Here, it will say r squared and r. Okay, and we're going to talk about right now how to get my calculator to show that. So at the beginning of the EOC, when you get your calculator, the first thing you need to do is press second, zero, and then we're going to go down to diagnostic, because we're wanting it to diagnose something about our line. Diagnostic on, enter. So we want to do that first, otherwise I'm going to have to redo my stat calc 4. But it's not too much work if you have to do it. Okay, our correlation coefficient is the letter r. So on that previous screen, it'll say r squared and r. R squared tells me whether it's better to be a line or a quadratic or an exponential, kind of what we did in class today visually. But we want r because that's specifically do with a line. And my values of r go from -1 to +1 with 0 in the middle. So we're never going to have something, an r value that's bigger than 1 or less than -1. If it is between -1 and 0, we say it has a negative correlation. If it's between 0 and 1, we say it's a positive correlation. So I'm just going to write a little note here. A positive correlation means as x increases, y increases. A negative correlation means as x increases, y decreases. Then, separate from a discussion of whether it's a negative or positive correlation is a discussion of the strength of a correlation. And there, we're going to look at the absolute value of r, which means we're ignoring the sign. So I'm only looking at basically my decimal. On the far end, I have 0 and 1. If I have a correlation of 0, that means there is absolutely no correlation. On the other hand, if I have a correlation of 1, that means I have a perfect correlation. But most things are going to fall in between. So our other key numbers, and these are estimates, different textbooks will have different numbers, but all roughly around this, 0.5 and 0.8. Creatively, we will call something between 0 and 0.5 weak. Something between 0.5 and 0.8 moderate. And something between 0.8 and 1 strong. You might need to like draw arrows or something to your number line because I made it too small in the notes, sorry. So once again, to see this on the calculator, we need to press second, 0, turn our diagnostic on, press enter, and then after that, when I create my line of best fit by pressing stat calc 4, I will see my r value, and from that I can tell whether it's negative or positive, and it's weak, moderate, or strong. Okay, so that's all we need to do. I need you to look back over the calculator steps and make sure you have a general idea of what it's going to look like so we can do some practice when we come in tomorrow.